Did you just get Apollo and you're trying to understand the API a bit better, wanting to use it in some operations or some workflows perhaps? Well, in this video, we're actually going to explain how the API works in full detail. We're going to give you a step-by-step of all the different API groups, and also we're going to show you how to actually set up an API key for your company. Hope you enjoy the video.
In this video, we're going to be explaining the Apollo API like I'm 5. So first and foremost, to really explain, why is the API actually important? So when we're talking about the API allows you to integrate Apollo into your technology stack. So instead of having Apollo be separated from your technology and you have to use it separately and then go and do all the other tasks, you can actually integrate it directly in all of your technology by having this API available. What that also does is simplify the sales process for your team and eliminate the manual effort that they would actually have to do when it comes to prospecting, outbound work, things like that. So leveraging this API will make it much easier for your team to not have to do all of the mundane tasks that come along with prospecting. And what this actually helps is to speed up time for prospecting and identifying future customers for your company. So this is really important to leveraging the API because a lot of people don't realize how this can actually benefit their company. So just to explain the API in a bit more detail, we're going to look into the Apollo API groups. The Apollo API groups are a segment of all the different types of functionalities that the API allows you to do within Apollo. So these are the same things that you would be doing in the interface when you're inside of Apollo, but instead you're doing it programmatically. So first you have the Enrichment API, you have the People Pay API, you have the Organizations API, the Opportunities API, the Contacts API, the Accounts API, the Sequences API, and the Tasks API. The Enrichment API. The Enrichment API allows you to enrich people information in bulk. So you can actually enrich 10 records at a time, and you have 1 export credit for each non-empty record returned. So this allows you to get information like email, mobile information from a contact. The People API allows you to actually go and search for people in Apollo's database. This is similar to how you would go ahead and search through the Apollo with adding filters and choosing what you want to see. Okay, I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see this type of person. Well, this is exactly doing the same thing, but now through the API. And so you can actually export much more than the traditional interface, and you have 1 export credit for just calling this endpoint. So essentially you can have 100 people for 1 credit. This doesn't actually give you any emails, so that's where the Enrichment API that we just went over actually does. We have the Organizations API. Very similar to the People API, this allows you to search for organizations in Apollo's database. And also you can actually get active job postings for a company. This is pretty helpful for many companies that are looking to understand what companies are needing. So hey, this company's hiring for a sales director, so that may be a good opportunity to reach out if I have a sales technology and to reach out, say, hey, you may need this inside your company. This is one of the strategic ways that you can leverage this API for that. And you get 1 export credit when calling this endpoint. So same thing, 100 companies, you get 1 export credit with the Organizations API. The Opportunities API, this is now, we're heading out of the enrichment and getting people out of Apollo. We're leaving that territory, and now we're moving more into the Apollo as a CRM. And so Apollo as a CRM, this is one of the functions. So you can actually create opportunities, deals that are associated to company and people. You can view those opportunities. You can update opportunity one by one with the Opportunities API. And also the Contacts API allows you to create a new contact in Apollo from any other system. If it's coming from your website or any other lead generation system, does not offer deduplication, so you're going to have to actually do that first, or you may have duplicates in Apollo. You can update contact details, you can search for contacts and update ownership, as well as see contact stages and update them. Then we have the Accounts API. The Accounts API allows you to create a new company in your database, and also you can update an account, search for accounts in your database, see account stages, update them, and update account ownership as well. So this is very similar to a traditional CRM where you're giving someone an account and having companies and contacts associated to them. So same thing. Sequences, if you're doing sequences out of Apollo, if you're doing that outbound emailing and such, you can actually go ahead and create sequences through the API as well. So you can search for sequences in your Apollo, add contacts to sequences programmatically, and remove contacts from sequences or mark them as finished. And the task API, this actually is to create a new task to be performed on a contact, and you can actually get a list of tasks. So same thing, very helpful. Now we're going to go ahead and do the walkthrough. The walkthrough is going to be me walking through how to make an API key, what the API actually looks like inside the Apollo dashboard, and then I'm going to be explaining how the API works, give you some walk through the actual documentation. And if you've got any questions, feel free to contact us at niftyscope.io. We're open to chat, we're open to talk. Feel free to connect with us. So now we're getting ready to start the actual demo. So first in this demo, we're going to walk you through how to actually make an API key, how to actually find this inside the apollo.io section. So first and foremost, we're going to get to this page, which is called integrations. The way you can do that is go to the top right panel, click on integrations, and now you're at this page. We're going to scroll down and we're going to get to the section where it says API, programmatically access Apollo's primary functions. That's where you're going to go and click that. Now instead, if you're going to just connect directly to a system, there's all these other direct integrations, especially Zapier, so you don't even have to do this part. But if you do need the API for some other system, we'll go and click connect. And now in this section, it's going to say Apollo API quick start. We can either go and start working with the API, the enrichment API, or we can start working with the search API. This is actually, if I clicked on one of this, it's actually going to take us to their pages, all of their different API docs. So I'm going to go back to our developer portal and we're going to go to API keys. So API keys is where we actually want to go ahead and create the API keys that we need to actually work with the API, because it's not going to give us the authorization to do the things that we need to do until we create a key. So I'm going to create new key. We'll just call this test. This will be, you can give it a description. And so there's a section right here where it says, here's all the different endpoints. Remember those API groups that we spoke about? Well, here's all the different API groups and sections that we're going to be able to use with this key. So we can decide, okay, we only want to use this key for contact search and account search, but then everything else, no. So this is a way to kind of gatekeep some of the resources for this API. So for instance, there's also just a master key. If you don't select any APIs for this new key, we will assume that this is a new API key as a master key. So a master key is going to allow you to touch all of these different things. That's a bit risky. So just make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to allow for a master key. The reason why I say it's a bit risky, because if you lose that key, of course you can close it. But if you lose that key, someone else can start using your resources or something like that, and they'll have access to your whole entire Apollo. So feel free to do master key. And if you realize you only need a specific resource, then click on that resource. But we'll just go ahead and do master key for now. And so this master key is essentially going to allow us to test all the resources. And once you want to actually use this API key, you're just going to copy it and then go ahead and use it wherever you're going to need to use it. I wanted to go ahead and just explain this documentation a bit, help you understand what's going on. So first, in this introduction, we see that they give you this REST API to query our rich data repository and enrich your database systems or app, whether for people, organizations, opportunities, and more. The API is available to do anything the UI offers. So first and foremost, remember that key that I spoke about? Well, you're going to have to actually use that API key when you're going to make a call to any one of these endpoints. So that API key is typically passed in the actual URL. So when you're passing the API key, you're going to pass it in the URL here. And that's where you're going to be able to get access to that resource in Apollo. Then they explain the rate limits, and you'll see this response is actually the response that you get from your request. So you'll see here, these are the different things that you're going to get from the response headers. So for instance, if you're hitting Apollo's API and you're wondering, did I hit the limit yet? Well, this response header, which is going to be on every response that you get from Apollo, is going to let you know how many daily requests you have, your daily usage, all these different pieces. So all of these different things have descriptions, and this is based on your plan, and this is based on Apollo for your account or in total. So you're going to have to make sure that you're looking at these response headers when you're trying to make sure that you're not hitting any rate limits on your APIs. And then this is where we start at the different APIs that we mentioned before. So this Enrichment API, the bulk people enrichment API, this is the endpoint that allows you to enrich people information in bulk, up to 10 records. And so the way you can use this is a post. This is a post call to this endpoint. So I assume in this video, I assume that you understand things like post, and you understand things like general API URLs and things like that, and how to access resources. So I'm not going to go ahead and explain that, but what I am going to explain is these are the request parameters, and these are pretty much all optional. But of course, it's better to give Apollo more information so that way they can give you the correct information back. And so these are all the different pieces when you're sending a request, a post request to the Enrichment API. So we see here that part of this API call, you have your API key, you have this has reveal personal emails true, and then you add the details that you're going to want to do. So you're going to have the details for every person that you're going to be trying to do enrichment for. You're going to have to pass it over. Now you don't have to pass all of them, but you can pass as many as you can that you already have in your system to make this enrichment better. And then this is the sort of response that you're going to get. You're going to get a success, or you're going to get an error. It's going to tell you if you've got an error code. It'll give you a message. You'll get all these different pieces. You'll see how much credits you've consumed. You'll get the match, and you'll get their details. If you don't get the match, you'll get the reason why. And this is going to be how the details are responded as a JSON response. So I just wanted to go through this piece of the Apollo documentation. Of course, you can go through all of them one by one, and you'll see how each of them work. If you want me to go ahead and explain more of this in another video, I can. Feel free to request for it.
Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully it answered any of the questions that you currently have. If you have any other questions, feel free to respond in the comments below, and we'll go ahead and answer it, or you can reach out to us directly at niftyscope.io. Thank you for watching.